in high school, I was the guy that was friends with everybody. Like I just wanted to be friends with as many people as possible. And I think low key it came from middle school when I was friends with nobody. And then when people started to like me in high school, I was like, I'm just gonna be friends with everybody. And so I mean, I was friends with like, the nerds. I was friends with like the sports guys. I was friends with the weed smokers. I was friends with the party animals. I was friends with all these different people. And even in lunch, during lunchtime, they gave me the nickname of the table hopper. So I would just hop from different tables, and one, because I had ADD, I couldn't sit in one place, but also, I just love being around different people. And so there was one weekend that was happening during school where I had an option to pick between one group of friends or the other. And so one group of friends, we would always hang out, like, every time we're together, we're laughing, joking, just having like the best time. But this other group was the popular kids. And so the popular kids, it was like, if I hang out with the popular kids and everything's cool, like, it's a wrap. I'm getting any girl I want, like I'm doing, all that stuff. So as the weekend started approaching, I made the decision to hang out with the popular kids. And if I could be honest, it was terrible. It sucked. If I can just be honest, I remember going to the party having a certain expectation, but when we got there, the weed was trash. Nobody twerked on me. Everybody was posted up on the wall. Everybody thought that was cool. Snapchat was still new, so everybody was taking pictures for Snapchat. And then a fight broke out, and then we all just had to go home. And so my friends on the other side, the friends that I'm usually hanging out with, they ordered pizza, they had wings, they had a video game tournament, they was cracking all of our inside jokes. I mean, like it seemed like they was just having the best time. And I remember I was looking on Snapchat and I was like, I was salty. I was like, bro, I should have just hung out with them. And like, as silly as that story is, I took a deep look into it, and the popular party really seemed more appealing. And I thought it would be the best option. And so I ended up running to the popular party, all for it to just completely backfire and ended up being trash. And so, I feel like a lot of us choose certain things, but if I can use the word run, a lot of us run to things that aren't good for us. Some of us may be running back to that ex that has low-key caused our depression and anxiety, and sometimes we get bored or we get lonely, or our dating life isn't going as well as we thought it was. And so we're like, well, this is all I know. Let me get back with him. Let me get back with her. Some of us, when we're under stress, we go to cigarettes, we go to alcohol, we go to addictions. Some of us, when we're confused, we go to social media to get answers. Some of us, when we're lonely, we go to www.blink.com and try to satisfy a certain need. And the problem with running to things is that it's always going to leave you empty. It's always going to leave you wanting more. I mean, and there might be some of us who are listening to this right now who are like, that's for the young people. Like, I've been saved for 30 years, but if we can be honest, there's things that you run to as well. There's work that you run to. There's trying to make sure that your kids do well, and so you're down their backs all the time. There's certain things that you run to, and so everybody has the thing that they run to. If I can be honest, there's stuff that I run to, and I've been doing ministry for almost 10 years, and there's still times where I forget to run to God and I go run to other things. And so it's always going to leave us empty. I mean, like, you're high but you're still empty. Like, you're drunk but you're still empty. Like, you won on 2K, but you're still empty. Like you got the 200 likes, but you're still empty. Like you finally made decent money, but you're still empty. And so the things that we run to might feel good in the moment, but for the long haul, it doesn't satisfy us. And low key, it can cause a lot of hurt and damage and pain because we chose to not run to Jesus. And so we're not going to project this today, but if you're listening and you have a Bible near you, I want you to pull up Luke 15, and we're going to do 11 through 32. And so I'm going to skip a little bit, but I'm going to let you know when. And then we're going to do the New International Version. And so I'm sure a lot of you guys have heard the story of the parable of the prodigal son. And so, yeah, let's get into it. So verse 11, Jesus continued. So he's getting ready to tell the story. He said, there was a man that had two sons. The younger one said to his father, Father, give me a share of the estate. I don't know why I always do that voice, but it's fun. And so he divided his property between them. And not long after that, the younger son got together all he had, and he set off for a distant country, and there squandered his wealth in wild living. And so the son had an option. He had an option to just hang out with his dad for God knows how many years and just wait it out and just chill, or to go do his own thing with his money. And so he chose to do his own thing with the money. And verse 14, it says, after he spent everything, there was a severe famine in the whole country. And then he began to be in need. Is there anybody in here that you chose to run to something that you thought was going to satisfy you and it left you empty, and now you're like, dang, like I'm in need now? Like maybe some of you guys chose the house, but God low-key told you to wait, and the house ended up being trash, and you're like, dang, man, like we got to pay mortgage and we got to fix the roof, but we need food. So in from verse 15 through 19, it talks about how he went from being extremely wealthy to being so poor that he had to be a servant. And the person that he was serving under, obviously was not the best boss. And so it said that nobody would help him. Like he couldn't eat. Like, and y'all, if I don't eat for like 4 hours, like I'm punching something. Like, but it said he was hungry. It said so he started working with the pigs and started feeding the pigs. And it said that he was so hungry he started eating with the pigs. And so he came to his senses. He was like, "Yo, I can't do this, bro. Like I know I left my dad, but bro, like even if I just got to be a servant, even if I like." It says that his thought process was, my dad treats his servants way better than this, so like I could at least be a servant for him. And so he made up in his mind what he was gonna say, and he started planning the script, and he was like, maybe I'm not worthy to be your son, but if you could just accept me and just allow me to just serve. So he started coming up with all these different scenarios in his head. And so we skipped to verse 20, and it says, he decided to go back home. And it says, so he got up and went to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion for him. And he ran to his son and threw his arms around him and kissed him. I feel like there's some of us in here who we've had a relationship with Jesus for a long time. And maybe some of us have steered off and kind of fell off, and we're not reading our word as much, and we're not, praying as much, and we're not worshiping as much. And there's some guilt that might come with that. But I want to tell you that Jesus has open arms, and he's never like, see, like, you're stupid, like you should have never. No, Jesus has open arms, and he's waiting for you to come back to him. And so when when the man ran to his son and threw his arms around him and kissed him, it felt it was I'm trying to find the word, y'all. My bad. It was acceptance. It was an extreme amount of acceptance that he had for his son. And Jesus is the same way. And so what are you running to? And so if you find yourself running to things, here's 3 things that you can do. Are you guys ready? So when I put this together, I was like, God, give me something fun. And so I came up with stop, drop, and roll. All right, so stop, drop, and roll. So if you find yourself running to things that is not of God, that is not, towards your purpose, you stop and you assess and you pay attention to what you're doing. Stop. Just hold on. Just stop. Wait a minute. Stop. Is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? God, is this really in alignment with what you're calling me to? And then if it's not, I want you to drop. So you're going to stop and then you're going to drop. If it's not pulling you towards God and it's pushing you away from God, you're going to drop it. And then you're going to roll. You're going to roll up out of there and get back to the Father. Come on, somebody. That's crazy. Hey, repeat after me. Say stop, drop, and roll. So in 2023, what would your life look like if you just started running back to Jesus? If you find yourself running to other things, what would your life look like if you stopped, assessed, dropped it, and rolled back with the Father? In 2014, you guys know the story. We tell it at least once a month. We were homeless when we started planting Landmark Church. And so before we planted Landmark Church, I was doing my own thing. I was trying to be a rap star, and I ended up interning at the studio, where a whole bunch of different celebrities would come through, and it just was not a good scene. And low key, like looking back on it, that John was champ. And Annabelle, if you're listening, champ, it just means like not cool. Like it's just kind of lame, Annabelle's the words police. And so it wasn't until I asked God to get us out of the situation where we were homeless, and he ended up allowing us to have a place to stay. And I remember I told God, I said, God, if you get us out of this situation, I'm locking it with you. I ended up doing youth ministry, and I remember I called my dad and I was like, God, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, God called me to do ministry. And y'all, that was almost 10 years ago, 2014. And my life was never the same. When I pursued music, trying to do it in a secular way, and I'm not bragging, I would probably get like 100 views on my stuff, like on average. Right now it's in the high thousands. I mean, I've hit 100,000 streams this year, solely because God elevated what I submitted to him. And so what you release out of your hands to God, God's going to release it right back to you. And so my encouragement to y'all today is to run to the Father. Stop, drop it, and roll. Let me pray. God, I thank you so much for this time, God. I just ask that you allow us to be able to self-reflect right now, God, to be able to be encouraged, God, and to be able to run to you, Lord God. I just pray that you just open up our hearts to submit, Lord. In your name, Jesus, amen.